the filmmaker, Beth, is forcing you to confront the ugliness of these characters.
And there's quite a legend around this particular little film.
Yeah.
We all know Jason Blum, the famous horror movie producer from films like The Conjuring and The Purge and Paranormal Activity and all this. And you would think that he'd have quite a thick skin when it came to horror movies, right? But legend has it that he sat down one night, I think, and he watched this little independent horror movie, and it was so visceral that he actually felt, word has it, uncomfortable, and he
Oh,
was
yeah.
on the edge of his seat. And of course, this was a movie that you had a lead role in. This movie went on to make all sorts of top 10 lists of 2022. I think it was even described as, I quote, the most terrifying movie of 2022 by Screen Rant magazine. Now, I'd like to ask you, Stephanie, what do you think it is about Soft and Quiet that evokes such discomfort, such fear, and such tension?
Yeah, I think there are a number of things. I think, first of all, the subject matter is something that is incredibly timely, and it's incredibly uncomfortable to have to sit and sit with these characters and listen to what they're saying, and understand that something is likely being said in the real world. This very same thing is being said in the real world at this moment. So I think there's that. And I think uh, it's a lot of like how it's shot, right? You're a fly on the wall in this film. You're with these women who already, like, you're like, whoa, they have some distasteful views on things. And you're not allowed to look away because we don't cut, right? And I think that's really where the discomfort and the tension starts to build. It's like the filmmaker, Beth, is forcing you to confront the ugliness of these characters and move along with them. And I think as the film progresses, it kind of snowballs, and you don't cut. We continue to go on this journey with them, and the 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 violence intensifies and it gets more deplorable, and you aren't able to turn away, like you aren't able to shut it off. And I think that's what makes it so scary. um I think it's also the characters too, Emily, my character, is someone who could be your neighbor. She
Yeah.
comes off as very put together, perhaps in some ways relatable, and turns out to be a monster. And I think that the feeling of like some of the most dangerous and terrifying things aren't fantastical beasts or serial killers or
Mm-hmm.
ghosts. They're the people that we're grocery shopping with. They're the people that are in our yoga class, that
Mm.
just we don't know what's going on in their minds. And how scary is it when multiple people share the same viewpoint, and that rhetoric starts snowballing into real world violence. I think it's a very scary thing, and something that we see it. Um, yeah, I mean, the funding for this film we got, right after January 6th, the attack on the U.S. Capitol, which I think is it's different, right? This is, we're not attacking the U.S. Capitol, but it's very similar in this very dangerous and incendiary type of rhetoric, and how that results in real world violence.
Absolutely. I love the way that you described it as having this like snowballing effect, because that's exactly how I kind of saw it, like how it starts off, like you say, quite sort of plain and simple, quite calm and everything. And then it just literally snowballs into complete and utter chaos. Now I heard
Yeah.
that the film was shot in 4 days or something like that. I mean, that
Yes.
must be intense. That kind of a movie in 4 days. It's like,
Oh
wow,
yeah.
what was that like?
Oh, it was exhilarating. We had 4 days of rehearsal leading up to the 4 days of shooting, um, and we rehearsed uh, the film sort of based on location. So we would have like 4 hours to rehearse everything that happened in the church, 3 hours to rehearse things that happened in the school. Um, and it was a whirlwind. Uh, it was incredibly, when you're shooting something and not cutting, there are so many technical aspects that you have to be aware of, because in this film we're doing a lot of tricky stuff with cameras. And oh my God, our DP Greta was amazing. But it's so choreographed because our actions as actors are helping her tell the story with her camera. And then in some moments, our actions as actors are helping mask sort of the technical things that have to happen, like props flying in or like people flying out. So in that way, it was like very important that we as actors uh, get the 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 choreography of it down pat. But then what was so fun as an actor was like you had to be, so sure of what you were doing. But then once we started rolling, be ready to throw that all away because we weren't cutting. So things were inevitably going to go wrong. And you had to be okay with going with it, like improving in the moment, which was such an interesting uh back like I've never worked that way as an actor, and it was so exhilarating to do this intense preparation and then let it go
Right.
and be ready to, yeah, just go with the flow in the moment. So we did it 4 nights in a row. um we started we Beth called action at, I don't know, it like 5:45 p.m. and we went through it till she yelled cut. And the first night, I remember it was just like, wow, okay, we did it. We got it. We did it. We were able to do it. The second night was an absolute disaster. It was like everything that could have gone wrong did, like mic packs falling off, like things not being able to get things open, forgetting props. Uh, but I think we needed that messiness in order to dial it in, because the next night it was like we were there. And then the night after that was like the icing on the cake in terms of we'd gotten a good one. And this was like, it was, sometimes they say like, do another take for you, like just do it for you, like do what you want to do. So I feel like the last night was like we were doing it for us in a way. But yeah, it was an hour and a half of pure intensity. And then yeah, we would shoot for like 2 hours a day. Then Beth was very adamant that we go home and rest. And then we would have the morning to ourselves. We would all come together as a group and she would give us notes and then we would sort of digest them, prepare together, because, the film is very, we do some pretty awful things to our fellow actors in it.
Mm.
So, kind of, oh, it was essential to create a safe space, I think. So Beth was very good about like bringing us all together before we started shooting and having us take some deep breaths together, kind of get out any sort of emotions that we were feeling surrounding the the content of the film, and
Mm.
then we dove into it.
It's so
And
it feels so much like when I was watching the movie, I almost felt like it sounds from what you're describing that you guys were quite a close-knit group,
oh
that Beth
yeah,
created quite a feeling of collaboration, you know. And yet
yeah.
when I was watching the movie, I was like, I wonder if these people ever spoke to each other after this film.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. We do like we're on a text chain. We text each other quite frequently. Um yeah, it's Melissa who plays Anne, the sister who survived. She has a great story about flying to the shoot location and talking with Sissy, who plays Lily, her other sister in the movie, and just being like, we're not going to talk to those girls. You know, we're going to get to set and we are not going to talk to them. And then she's like, I got there and everyone was so nice and lovely that we had to talk to each other. Um, yeah, and Beth was so wonderful about really, yeah, creating an environment that felt very collaborative and safe. And I think that was essential when we were um filming something that was so horrific.
Mm, mm. Did you shoot it in sequence?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So we
Jeez.
started in the bathroom of the school and we ended in a in a rowboat.
Right. You said that you rehearsed as well. Did the rehearsing sort of happen on the day of the shoot, or did you rehearse before the shoot?
Oh no, we had 4 days of rehearsal before the shoot,
All right.
which were full days. You know, it was like an 8 hour day that we had four of those of rehearsal, which was essential
Mm,
because yeah, it was four chances to actually get it.
mm, mm, mm.
Which is, it's so wild to think about it. I'm like, I'm still blown away that we did, but we did it.
Yeah.
But everyone was and I have to, like, the credit goes to Beth because she was a leader that, you know, she led us. She made us feel safe. She inspired us, and we were determined to do it
Yeah. Yeah.
because she was determined, you
Yeah.
know.
But did you have any trepidation about playing the role? Did you think about it and go, wait a minute, you know, it's like you said, I'm playing a white supremacist here, you know?
Gaze into the abyss.